Okay, hello YouTube. Excuse me. Um. Okay, we are live. Let me just pop this out in case someone has any comments or questions. Okay. Put this over here. Yeah. Okay, so today we will be, or I will be trying to look into something of a topic, you might say, and it is the smile of the Buddha. And I think that probably something everybody wants to know about. And I've been thinking a lot about it at different times. So today, here on the 4th of January 2022, or 2500 and what would that be? 65? The Buddhist calendar. That is today, the 4th of January. Okay, so without too much wasting time, let's just pay homage to the Buddha and we will get into some sutta studies. And why was I thinking about the smile of the Buddha? Well, it's always nice to think about that. I think that's a good enough reason. Okay. Let me just make sure I am looking my best and everything is alright. Okay, so I actually have a little background music. I don't know if that's gonna be distracting. I hope not. Oh, I see. Okay, so let me just wait a second. Okay, there it is. So we will be starting off by reading the Jataka 440, the Kanha Jataka. Kanha, as far as I remember, means black or something like that. Darkness. And here we go. So this first one I have on the screen since it's the Jataka, and I don't have the Jataka tales on the volumes, but I have these two books which we're going to be using for the other suttas. And that book is the Manual of Insight by Mahasi Sayadaw, which I also have the first chapter study of that on my YouTube. Okay, let's begin. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sadhu. Okay. Smile of the Buddha. Jataka number 440, the Kanha Jataka. I'm a little bit... I usually read it like this. So maybe I should do that for this one as well, since I don't have to hold the book. Okay. Behold yon man. This story the master told at Kapilavatthu in the Banyan Park about smiling. Am I not in the right position here? Maybe we should just turn the camera a little bit. Something like that. About smiling. At that time, they say that the master, wandering afoot with his band of brethren in the Banyan Park at evening time, at a certain spot gave a smile. Said Elder Ananda, what can be the cause? What the reason that the Blessed One should smile? Not without cause do the Tathagatas smile. I will ask him, then. So, the gesture of obedience he asked of this smile. Then the master said to him, in days of your Ananda, there was a certain sage named Kanha, who on this spot of earth lived meditative. In meditation his delight, and by power of virtue, Sakka's abode was shaken, and Sakka is the king of the angels. But as this speech about the smile was not quite clear, at the elder's request, he told this story of the past. Let me just make this a little bit bigger for my eyes. Okay. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta ruled Benares, there was a certain childless Brahmin, having wealth to the amount of 80 crores, who took upon him the vows of virtue, and prayed for a son. In the womb of this Brahmin's wife was conceived the Bodhisatta, the Buddha to be. And from his black collar they gave him on his name day the name of Kanha Kumara, young Blackie. He, at the age of 16 years, being full of splendor, as it were an image of some precious stone, was sent by his father to Takasila, where he learned all the liberal arts, and returned again. Then his father provided a wife meet for him, and by and by he came in for all his parents' property. Now one day, after inspecting his treasure houses, as he sat on his gorgeous diwan, he took in his hand a golden plate, and reading upon the golden plate these lines inscribed by his kinsman of former days. So much of the property gained by such a one, so much by another, thought he. Those who won this wealth are seen no more, but the wealth is still seen. Not one of them could take it where he is gone. We cannot tie our wealth in a bundle and take it with us to the next world, seeing that it is connected with the 5 sins. To distribute in alms this vain wealth is the better part, seeing that this vain body is connected with so much disease. To show honor and kindness to the virtuous is the better part, seeing that his transient and vain life is but transient. To strive after spiritual insight is the better part. Therefore these vain treasures I will distribute in alms, that by so doing I may gain the better part, the spiritual life. So he uprose from his seat, and having asked the king's consent, he gave alms bounteously. Up to the 7th day, seeing no diminution in his wealth, he thought, What is wealth to me? While I am yet unmastered by old age, I will even now take up the ascetic vow. I will cultivate the faculties and the attainments. I will become destined for Brahma's heaven. So he caused all the doors of his dwelling to be set open, and bade them take it as freely as given. And spurning it as a thing unclean, he forsook all desire of the eyes amid the lamentations and amid the lamentations and tears of the great multitude, went forth from the city, even unto the Himalayan region. There he embraced the solitary life, and seeking out for a pleasant place to dwell in, he found this place, and there he resolved to dwell, and choosing a good gourd tree for his place of dwelling, for his place of feeding, there he did abide, and lived at the root of that tree. Lodging never within a village, he became a dweller in the woods. Never a hut of leaves he made, but abode at the foot of this tree, in the open air, sitting ever, or if he desired to lie, lying upon the ground. Not a pestle, but only teeth to grind his food with. Eating only things uncooked by the fire, and never even a grain in the husk passed his lip. Eating once in the day, and at one sitting on the ground, as though he were one with the four elements, he lived taking upon him the ascetic virtues. In that birth, the Bodhisattva, as we learned, had very few wants. Thus, ere long, he attained the faculties and the attainments, and lived in that spot in ecstasy of ecstatic meditation. For wild fruits he went no further afield. When fruit grew upon the tree, he ate the fruit. In time of flowers, he ate the flowers. When the leaves grew, he ate the leaves. When leaves there were none, he ate the bark of the tree. Thus, in the highest contentment he lived a long time in that place, as in the place as in the morning he used to pick up fruits of that tree, never once did he from greediness rise up and pick fruit in any other place. In the place where he had sat, he stretched out his hand and gathered all the fruit there was within the hand sweep. These he would eat as they came, making no distinction between nice and nasty. As he continued to take pleasure in this, by the power of his virtue, the yellow stone throne of Sakka grew hot. King of the angels up in heaven, Sakka. This throne, they say, grows hot when Sakka's life draws towards its end, or when his merit is exhausted and worked out, or when some mighty being prays, or through the efficacy of virtue in priests or Brahmins full of potency. Then Sakka thought, Who is it would dislodge me now? Surveying all around, he saw living in a forest in a certain spot the sage Kamma, picking up fruit, and knew that yonder was the sage of dread austerity, all sense subdued. To him I will go, thought he. I will cause him to proclaim the law in trumpet tones. And having heard the preaching that gives peace, I will satisfy him with a boon, and make his tree bear fruit unceasingly, and then I will return hither. Then, by his mighty power, quickly descending and taking a stand at the root of that tree behind the sage, he said, by way of testing whether or no the sage would be angry at mention of his ugliness, the first stanza. Behold yon man, all black of hue, that dwells on this black spot. Black is the meat that he doth eat. My spirit likes him not. Swart Kanha heard him. Who is it that speaks to me? By his divine insight he perceived that it was Sakka, and without turning he replied with the second stanza. Though black of hue, a Brahmin true of heart, O Sakka, see not by the skin, but if he sin, then black a man must be. And then after this, having explained in the several kinds and blamed the sins which make black such beings, and praised the goodness of virtue, he discoursed to Sakka, and it was as though he made the moon to rise in the sky. Sakka, at the hearing of his discourse, charmed and delighted, offered the great being a boon, and repeated the third stanza. Fair spoken, Brahmin, nobly put, most excellently said. Choose what you will, as bids your heart, so let your choice be made. Hearing this, the great being thought thus within himself, I know how it must be. He wished to test me and see should I be wroth at mention of my ugliness. Therefore he abused the color of my skin, my food, my place of dwelling. Perceiving that I was not angry, he is pleased and offers me a boon. No doubt he thinks that I practice this manner of life through a desire for the power of Sakka or of Brahma, and now, to make him certain, I must choose these 4 boons, that I may be calm, that I may have within me no hatred or malice against my neighbor, and that I may have no greed for my neighbor's glory or lust towards my neighbor. Thus pondering to resolve the doubt of Sakka, the sage uttered the 4th stanza, claiming these 4 boons. Sakka, the Lord of all the world, a choice of blessings gave. From malice, hatred, covetous, deliverance I would have, and to be free from every lust, these beings 4 I crave. Just the second stream. Okay, I just had to close my door. And to be free from every lust, these blessings 4 I crave. Hereupon, thought Sakka, the sage Kanna in choosing his boon has chosen the 4 most blameless blessings. Now I will ask him what is good or bad with these 4 things. And he asked the questions by repeating the 5th stanza. In lust, in hatred, covetous, and malice, Brahmin, say, what evil thing dost thou behold? This answer me, I pray. Hear then, replied the great being, and gave utterance to 4 stanzas. Because of hatred, of ill will bred, I grows from small to great, is ever full of bitterness, therefore I want no hate. 'Tis ever thus with wicked men. First word, then touch we see, next fist, then stab, at last of all the sword stroke flashing free. Where malice is, there follows hate. No malice then for me. Then make speed, edged on by greed. When men make speed edged on by greed, fraud and deceit arise, in swift pursuit of savage loot, therefore no covetous. Firm are the fetters bound by lust that thrives abundantly within the heart. For bitter smart, no lusting then for me. Sakka, his questions thus solved, replied, Wise Kanha, by you sweetly are my questions answered, with a Buddha's skill. Well pleased with you am I. Now choose another boon. And he repeated the 10th stanza. Fair-spoken Brahmin, nobly put, most excellently said. Choose what you will, as bids your heart, so let your choice be made. Instantly the Bodhisattva replied a stanza, O Sakka, Lord of all the world, a boon thou didst me cry. Where in the woods I ever dwell, where all alone I dwell, grant no disease may mar my peace or break my ecstasy. On hearing this, thought Sakka, wise Kanha, in choosing a boon, chooses no thing connected with food. All he chooses bears upon the ascetic life. Delighted ever more and more, he added thereto yet another boon, and recited another stanza. Fair-spoken Brahmin, nobly put, most excellently said. Choose what you will, as bids your heart, so let your choice be made. And the Bodhisattva, in stating of his boon, declared the law in concluding stanza. O Sakka, Lord of all the world, a choice thou bidst declare. No creature be aught harmed for me, O Sakka, anywhere, neither in body nor in mind. This, Sakka, is my prayer. Thus the great being, on sixth occasion making choice of a boon, chose only that which pertained to the life of renunciation. Well knew he that the body is diseased, and not Sakka can do away with disease of it. Not with Sakka lies it to cleanse living beings in the 3 gates. Albeit so, he made his choice to the end that he might declare the law to him. Sakka made that tree bear fruit perennially, and saluting him by touching his head with joined hands, he said, Dwell here, ever free from disease, and went to his own place. But the Bodhisattva, never breaking his ecstasy, became destined for Brahma's world. And so, that is the end of the Jataka 440. So, why did the Buddha smile? In days of yore, Ananda, there was a certain sage named Kanha, who on this spot on earth lived meditative, in meditation his delight, and by power of his virtue Sakka's abode was shaken. So you can read from that what you want, but that was the Buddha's initial answer to Ananda. Ananda is the guardian of the Dhamma. Okay. And now we have this huge book, Anguttara Nikaya. It looks just like this. And it has like 2000 pages or something. Let me just remember, we are going to the Book of 5, number 180. Book of 3, Book of 4. No, Book of 4. Book of 5. Oh, I read this wrong. This is the Book of Tens. It's up here. Okay, here, the Book of Fives. Sorry about that. Oh, that's too far. 62, 67, 79, 80. So this is the Sutta, the Gawesi Sutta, or about Gawesi, I believe it is called. Here it is just noted as Gawesi. I'm not sure you can see that. There it is. Oh, there. Okay, so this I haven't read it before. So this will be like my first read through, I guess. Okay, maybe I should just put this down. Like so. Maybe I should hold it. Book of 5, number 180 in the Anguttara Nikaya, Gawesi. On one occasion the Blessed One was wandering on tour among the Kosalanas, together with a large sangha of bhikkhus. Then, while travelling along the highway, the Blessed One saw a large sal tree grove in a certain place. Here we again have the thing about a certain place. He left the highway, entered the sal grove, and smiled when he reached a certain place. Then it occurred to the Venerable Ananda, why did the Blessed One smile? Tathagatas do not smile without reason. Then the Venerable Ananda said to the Blessed One, why, Bhante, did the Blessed One smile? Tathagatas do not smile without a reason. In the past, Ananda, in this place, there was an affluent, prosperous, well-populated city, one teeming with people. Now, the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, Kassapa, lived in dependence on that city. So that is a Buddha before our present Buddha Gautama. This is the Buddha Kassapa. The Blessed One Kassapa, the previous Buddha, had a lay follower named Gawesi, who had not fulfilled virtuous behavior, and Gawesi taught and guided 500 lay followers who had not fulfilled virtuous behavior. Then Ananda, it occurred to Gawesi, I am the benefactor, the leader, and the guide of these 500 lay followers. Yet neither I myself nor these 500 lay followers have fulfilled virtuous behavior. Thus, we are on the same level, and I am not the least bit better. Let me surpass them. Then Gawesi approached the 500 lay followers and said to them, from today on, you should consider me to be one fulfilling virtuous behavior. Then it occurred to those 500 lay followers, Master Gawesi is our benefactor, our leader and guide. Now, Master Gawesi will fulfill virtuous behavior. Why shouldn't we do so too? Then those 500 lay followers approached Gawesi and said to him, from today onward, let Master Gawesi consider us to be fulfilling virtuous behavior. Then Ananda, it occurred to the lay follower, Gawesi, I am the benefactor, the leader and guide of these 500 lay followers. Now, I am fulfilling virtuous behavior, and so too are these 500 lay followers. Thus, we are on the same level, and I am not the least bit better. Let me surpass them. This is actually a sutta about it's a sutta about what happens when you I'm forgetting the word right now, but when you give your best and do everything you can, so you are giving the pursuit of your whatever you're pursuing your all. And in this case, Gawesi is pursuing to surpass the unvirtuous, you can say. And so let's find out what happens with such aspirations. So, since some aspirations are unwholesome and other aspirations are wholesome. Okay. Then Gawesi approached the 500 lay followers and said to them, "From today on you should consider me to be celibate, living apart, abstaining from sexual intercourse, the common person's practice." Then it occurred to those 500 lay followers, "Master Gawesi is our benefactor, leader, guide. Now Master Gawesi will be celibate, living apart, abstaining from sexual intercourse, the common person's practice. Why shouldn't we do so too?" Then those 500 lay followers approached Gawesi and said to him, "From today onward, Master, let the Master Gawesi consider us to be celibate, living apart, abstaining from sexual intercourse, the common person's practice." Then Ananda, it occurred to the lay follower Gawesi, "I am the benefactor, leader, guide of these 500 lay followers. Now I am fulfilling virtuous behavior, and so too are these 500 lay followers. I am celibate, living apart, abstaining from sexual intercourse, the common person's practice. And so too are these 500 lay followers. Thus we are on the same level, and I am not the least bit better. Let me surpass them." Then Gawesi approached the 500 lay followers and said to them, "From today on you should consider me to be eating once a day, refraining from night meal, abstaining from eating outside the proper time." Then it occurred to those 500 lay followers, "We should do the same. Or why shouldn't we do so too, actually?" Then those 500 lay followers approached Gawesi and said to him, "We will do so too." Then Ananda, it occurred to the lay follower Gawesi, "I am the benefactor and guide. Now I am fulfilling virtuous behavior, I am celibate. And so too are these 500 lay followers. I eat once a day, and so too do these 500 lay followers. Let me surpass them." Then Gawesi approached the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, Kassapa, and said to him, "Bhante, may I obtain the going forth and full ordination under the Blessed One?" The lay follower Gawesi obtained the going forth and full ordination under the Blessed One. The Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, Kassapa, soon after his full ordination, dwelling alone, withdrawn, heedful, ardent, and resolute, the Bhikkhu Gawesi realized for himself with direct knowledge in this very life that unsurpassed consummation of the spiritual life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the household life into homelessness. And, having entered upon it, he dwelled in it, he directly knew it, destroyed his birth, the spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. And the Bhikkhu Gawesi became one of the Arahants. Then Ananda. It occurred to those 500 lay followers, Master Gawesya is our benefactor, leader, and guide. Now he shaved off his hair and beard and put on ochre robes. He has gone forth from the household life into homelessness. Why shouldn't we do so too? Then those 500 lay followers approached the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, Kassapa, and said to him, Bhante, may we obtain the going forth and full ordination under the Blessed One. Then those 500 lay followers obtained the going forth and full ordination under the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, Kassapa. Then Ananda, it occurred to the Bhikkhu Gawesi, I obtain at will, without trouble or difficulty, the unsurpassed bliss of liberation. Oh, that these 500 bhikkhus could obtain at will, without trouble or difficulty, the unsurpassed bliss of liberation. Then Ananda, dwelling each alone, drawn, heedful, ardent, resolute, in no long time, those 500 bhikkhus realized for themselves with direct knowledge in this very life that unsurpassed consummation of the spiritual life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the household life into homelessness, and having entered upon it, they dwelled in it. They directly knew, destroyed its birth. The spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. Thus, Ananda, those 500 bhikkhus headed to Gawesi, striving in successfully higher and more sublime ways, realizing the unsurpassed bliss of liberation, Nibbana. Therefore, Ananda, you should train yourself thus, striving in successively higher and more sublime ways. We will realize the unsurpassed bliss of liberation. Thus, Ananda, you should train yourselves. So let me read this last part again. Thus, Ananda, those 500 bhikkhus headed by Gawesi, striving in successively higher and more sublime ways. So every time they reach their goal, they up the ante and do themselves one-ups, you can say. Realize the unsurpassed bliss of liberation. Therefore, Ananda, you should train yourself thus, striving in successively higher and more sublime ways. We will realize the unsurpassed bliss of liberation. Thus, Ananda, you should train yourselves. So we have two cases of the Buddha smiling on account of beings going above and beyond, you could say that. In both cases, both in the Jataka and in this sutta, the beings just continued without falling away. They continued to intensify and increase their own goals, and then to not be lazy or find satisfaction in something which is below satisfactory, being not satisfied with things that are unsatisfactory. They keep pushing themselves more and more and more until there's no more room for improvement. Okay. So let's continue. The third sutta, touching upon the smile of the Buddha. Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Blessed One was wandering among the Kosalans. Okay. Together with a large sangha of bhikkhus. Then the Blessed One left the main road, and at a certain place he smiled. It occurred to the Venerable Ananda, what is the reason, what is the cause of the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. So he arranged his upper robe on one shoulder, and extending his hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One, asked him, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile without a reason. Once, Ananda, in this place there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vipāka, with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Now, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, lived near the market town Vipāka. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, but that's what it says. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had his monastery. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, sat and advised the sangha of bhikkhus. Then Venerable Ananda folded his patchwork cloak in four, and spreading it out, said to the Blessed One, Then, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One be seated. Thus this place will have been used by two accomplished ones, fully enlightened ones, Buddhas. The Blessed One sat down on the seat that had been made ready and addressed the Venerable Ananda thus. Once, Ananda, in this place there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vipāka, with many inhabitants, and market town called with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Now the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, lived near the market town Vipāka. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had his monastery. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, sat and advised the sangha of bhikkhus. In Vipāka, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had a supporter, as his chief supporter, a potter named Gatikara. Gatikara, the potter, had a friend, as his close friend, a Brahmin student named Jyotipala. On one day, the potter Gatikara addressed the Brahmin student Jyotipala thus, My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. The Brahmin student Jyotipala said, Enough, my dear Gatikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? A second time and a third time the potter Gatikara said, My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. And the second and third time the Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Gatikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then, my dear Jyotipala, let us take a loofah and bathe. Let us take a loofah and bath powder and go to the river to bathe. Very well, Jyotipala replied. And so the potter Gatikara and the Brahmin student Jyotipala took a loofah and a bath powder and went to the river to bathe. Then Gatikara said to Jyotipala, My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Gattikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? A second and a third time Gattikara said, My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa. And a second and third time the Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Gattikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then the potter Gattikara seized the Brahmin student Jyotipala by the belt and said, My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala undid his belt and said, Enough, my dear Gattikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then, when the Brahmin student Jyotipala had washed his head, the potter Gattikara seized him by the hair and said, My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished, fully enlightened, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Then the Brahmin student thought, It is wonderful. Oh, here we go. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala thought, It is wonderful, it is marvelous that this potter Gattikara, who is of an inferior birth, should presume to seize me by the hair when we have washed our heads. Surely this can be no simple matter. And he said to the potter Gattikara, You go as far as this, my dear Gattikara. I go as far as this, my dear Jyotipala. For so much do I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Then, my dear Gattikara, let go of me. Let us visit him. So, Gattikara, the potter, and Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, went to the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. Gattikara, after paying homage to him, sat down at one side, while Jyotipala exchanged greetings with him. And when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he too sat down at one side. Gattikara then said to the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, Venerable Sir, this is the Brahmin student Jyotipala, my friend, my close friend. Let the Blessed One teach him the Dhamma. Then the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened Gattikara the potter and Jyotipala the Brahmin student with an exposition of the Dhamma. At the conclusion of this exposition, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One Kassapa's words, they rose from their seats, and after paying homage to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, keeping him on their right side, they departed. Then Jyotipala asked Gattikara, Now that you have heard this Dhamma, my dear Gattikara, why don't you go forth from the home life into homelessness? My dear Jyotipala, don't you know that I support my blind and aged parents? Then, my dear Gattikara, I shall go from a home life into homelessness. So Katikara the potter and Jyotipala the Brahmin student went to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. After having paid homage to him, they sat down at one side, and Katikara the potter said to the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, Venerable Sir, this is the Brahmin student Jyotipala, my friend, my close friend. Let the Blessed One give him the going forth. And the Brahmin student Jyotipala received the going forth from the Blessed One, Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. And he received the full admission. Then, not long after Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, had received the full admission, a half month after he had received the full admission, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, having stayed at Vebalinga as long as he chose, set out to wander towards Benares. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Benares, and there he went to live in the deer park in Isipatana. Now, King Kiki of Kasi heard. It seems that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has reached the Benares and is living in the deer park Isipatana. So he had a number of state carriages made ready, and mounting the state carriage drove out from the Benares with the full pomp of royalty in order to see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. He went thus as far as the road was possible for carriages, and then he got down from his carriage and went forward on foot to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. After having paid homage to him, he sat down at one side, and the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened the King Kiki of Kasi with an exposition on the Dhamma. At the conclusion of the exposition, King Kiki of Kasi said, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One, together with the Sangha of Bhikkhus, consent to accept tomorrow's meal from me. And the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, accepted in silence. Then, knowing that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had accepted, he rose from his seat, and after paying homage to him, keeping him on his right side, he departed. Then, when the night had ended, King Kiki of Kasi had good food of various kinds prepared in his own dwelling, red rice stored in a sheaf, with the dark grains picked out, along with many sauces and curries. And he had the same time announced to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, thus, it is time, Venerable Sir, the meal is ready. Then, it being morning, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished, fully enlightened, dressed, taking his bowl and outer robe, went with the Sangha of Bhikkhus to the dwelling of King Kiki of Kasi, and sat down on the seat made ready. Then, with his own hands, King Kiki of Kasi served and satisfied the Sangha of Bhikkhus, headed by the Buddha, with the various accomplished and fully enlightened, with the various kinds of good food. When the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had eaten and had put his bowl down, and said, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. There will be such service to the Sangha. Enough, King. My residence for the rains has already been provided for. A second time, And a third time the king of Kasi said, Venerable sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. That will be helpful for the Sangha. And of king, my residence for the rains has already been provided for. The king thought, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, does not accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. And he was very disappointed and sad. Then he said, Venerable sir, have you a better supporter than I am? I have, great king. There is a market town called Vipāka where a potter named Gatikara lives. He is my supporter, my chief supporter. Now, you, great king, thought. The Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, does not accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares, and you are very disappointed and sad. But the potter Gatikara is not, and will not be so. Potter Gatikara has gone. Sorry, just a second. Okay. The potter Gatikara has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. He abstains from killing living beings, from taking what is not given, from misconduct and sensual pleasures, from false speech, and from wine, liquor, and intoxicants, which are the basis of negligence. He has unwavering confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and he possesses the virtues loved by noble ones, Aryas. He is free from doubt about suffering, about the origin of suffering, about the cessation of suffering, and about the way leading to the cessation of suffering. He eats only one meal a day. He observes celibacy, is virtuous, of good character. He has laid aside gems and gold. He has given up gold and silver. He does not dig in the ground for clay with a pick or with his own hands what he has broken off riverbanks or thrown up by rats. He brings home in a carrier. When he has made a pot, he says, Let anyone who likes set down some selected rice or selected beans or selected lentils, and let him take away whatever he likes. He supports his blind and aged parents, having destroyed the 5 lower feathers. He is one who will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes, and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. So it sounds like he is enlightened to the 3rd stage, an anagami. On one occasion, when I was living at Vipāka, it being morning, I dressed, and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter Gatikara's parents and asked them, Where has the potter gone, please? Venerable sir, the potter has gone out, but take rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan and eat. I did so, and went away. Then the potter Gatikara went to his parents and asked, Who has taken rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away? My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, did. Then the potter Gatikara thought, It is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me. And rapture and happiness never left him for half a month, or his parents for a week. On another occasion, when I was living at Vipāka, it being morning, I dressed, and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter Gatikara's parents and asked them, Where has the potter gone, please? Venerable sir, your support has gone out, but there's some porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan. but take some porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan and eat. I did so and went away. Then the potter Katikara went to his parents and asked, "Who has taken porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away?" My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, did. Then the potter Katikara thought, "It is a gain for me. It is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me, and rapture and happiness never left him for a half month or his parents for a week." On another occasion, when I was living in Wibalinka, my hut leaked. Then I addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Go, bhikkhus, and find out if there is any grass at the potter Katikara's house." "Venerable sir, there is no grass at the potter Katikara's house." There is the grass thatch over his workshop." "Go, bhikkhus, and remove the grass from the potter Katikara's workshop." And they did so. Then the potter Katikara's parents asked the bhikkhus, "Who is removing the grass from the workshop?" "Sister, the hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, is leaking." "Take it, venerable sirs, take it, dear ones." Then the potter Katikara went to his parents and asked, "Who has removed the grass from the workshop?" "The bhikkhus did, my dear. The hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, is leaking." Then the potter Katikara thought, It is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me. And the rapture and happiness never left him for half a month, or his parents for a week. Then that workshop remained 3 whole months with the sky for a roof, and yet no rain came in. Such is the potter Katikara. It is a gain for the potter Katikara, it is a great gain for him that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, relies on him thus. Then King Kiki of Kasi dispatched to the potter Katikara 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with it. Then the king's men went to the potter Katikara and told him, "Venerable sir, there are 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with, dispatched to you by King Kiki of Kasi. Please accept them. The king is very busy and has much to do. I have enough. Let this be for the king himself." Now, Ananda, you may think thus: certainly someone else was the Brahmin student of Jyotipala on that occasion. But it should not be regarded thus. I was the Brahmin student Jyotipala on that occasion. That is what the Blessed One said. Venerable Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. Interesting story. Sorry, I'm just skimming through this next one, Ratapala Sutta. Thus have I... Okay. So now we begin the fourth and final sutta. Majjhima Nikaya number 83. Makkadewa Sutta. King Makkadewa. Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Blessed One was living at Mithila in the Makkadewa mango grove. Then, in a certain place, the Blessed One smiled. It occurred to the Venerable Ananda, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. So he arranged his upper robe on one shoulder and extended his hands in reverential salutations towards the Blessed One and asked him, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. Once, Ananda, in this same Mithila, there was a king named Makkadewa. He was a righteous king who ruled by the Dhamma, a great king who was established in the Dhamma. He conducted himself by the Dhamma among Brahmins and householders, among town dwellers and country folk, and he observed the Uposatha days on the 14th, 15th, and 8th of the fortnight. Now, at the end of many years, many hundred years, many thousand years, King Makkadewa addressed his barber thus: Good barber, oh, let me just read. So it seems like this could have also happened at the time of the Kassapa Buddha, right? Since at that time the lifespan was quite a bit longer than what we experience today. Actually, our Buddha is the shortest lived Buddha in all of history. 80 years. Compared to 80,000 years more. Anyway, I was just stumbling a little bit over all of those years. Let me begin again. Now at the end of many years, many hundred years, many thousands years, King Makkadewa addressed his barber thus: Good barber, when you see any gray hairs growing on my head, then tell me. Yes, sire, he replied. And after many years, many hundreds of years, many thousands of years, the barber saw grey hairs growing on King Makkadewa's head. When he saw them, he said to the king, The divine messages have appeared, sire. Grey hairs are to be seen growing on your majesty's head. Then, good barber, pull out those grey hairs carefully with tweezers and put them in my palm. Yes, sire. He replied, and he pulled out those grey hairs and carefully with tweezers put them up in the king's palm. Then King Makkadewa gave the boon of the village to his barber. So the barber was given a village, and calling the prince his eldest son, he said, Dear prince, the divine messages have appeared. Grey hairs are seen growing on my head. I have enjoyed human sensual pleasures. Now it is time to seek divine sensual pleasures. Come, dear prince, take over the kingship. I shall shave off my hair and beard and put on the yellow robe and go from home life into homelessness. And now, dear prince, when you too see grey hairs growing on your head, then, after giving the boon of a village to a barber, and after carefully instructing the prince, your eldest son, in kingship, shave off your hair and beard, and put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Continue this good practice, instituted by me, and do not be the last man. Dear Prince, when there are two men living, he under whom there occurs a breach of this good practice, he is the last man among them. Therefore, my dear Prince, I say to you, continue this good practice instituted by me, and do not be the last man. Then, after giving the boon of a village to his barber and carefully instructing the prince, his eldest son, in kingship, in the Makadewa mango grove he shaved off his hair and beard, and put on the yellow robe, and went forth from the home life into homelessness. He abided pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above, below, around, and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He abided pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. He abided pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with compassion, with a mind imbued with altruistic joy. So here we have metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. The four Brahma viharas, the sublime abidings. Imbued with compassion, imbued with altruistic joy, compassion, karuna, imbued with altruistic joy, mudita, imbued with the mind with equanimity, upekkha, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, above, below, around, and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He abided pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. For 84,000 years, King Makadewa played childish games, and for 84,000 years he acted as a vice-regent. For 84,000 years he governed the kingdom, and for 84,000 years he led the holy life in this Makadewa mango grove after shaving off his hair and beard. So as you can see, this is quite a different time. I don't want to distract you too much from this, but I believe that at the time of Buddha Vipāka, he also lived a very, very long time. And if we compare our present Buddha, who's Gautama Buddha, the Buddha of the present Buddha Sasana, our Buddha, if we compare, I just want also to say about our present Buddha that his enlightenment is recognized as the perfect enlightenment. Our Buddha is actually known as the perfected one amongst the Buddhas. And why so? One reason being that the Buddha, when he left his palace, he saw all four signs. He saw death, old age, and he saw a monk. And what is the fourth sign? Sickness. He saw all these four signs on the same day or in the same week. But for Buddha Vipāka, it took many thousands of years between each time he saw a sign since he returned to the palace. And so it's just a different kind of enlightenment, and there's a lot more time. Pretty much for all of the other Buddhas. But our present Buddha's enlightenment is known as the perfectly enlightened Buddha, the most short-lived Buddha ever, the most perfect. And excuse me for taking a little short detour there. We will continue with the king having shaved off his hair and beard, putting on the yellow robe and going forth from the home life into homelessness by developing the 4 divine abodes, the Brahma Viharas. On the dissolution of the body after death, he passed on to the Brahma world. Now, at the end of many years, many hundred years, 1,000 years, King Makadeva's son addressed his Baba thus. King Makadeva's son. Okay, so the exact same thing happened to King Makadeva's son. And by developing the 4 divine abodes on the dissolution of the body after death, he passed on to the Brahma world. So the same thing happened to King Makadeva's son. The descendants of King Makadeva's son, to the number of 84,000 kings in succession after shaving off their hair and head. They didn't shave off their head. They shaved off their hair and beard, and putting on the yellow robe went forth from home life into homelessness. In this King Makadeva's mango grove, they abided, pervading the quarters, imbued with loving kindness, metta, karuna, mudita, and ubeka, without ill will. For 84,000 years they played childish games. For 84,000 years they acted as vice-regents. For 84,000 years they governed the kingdom. And for 84,000 years they led the holy life in this Makadeva mango grove after shaving off the hair and beard and putting on the yellow robe and going forth from home life into homelessness. By developing the 4 divine abodes on the dissolution of the body after death, they passed on to the Brahma world. So they were supporters of the Buddha who did not become enlightened, just like the king we heard about before, who invited the Buddha Kassapa to stay for rains. Except the Buddha Kassapa already had another attendant, the Pada Gotikara. And he was actually enlightened himself. So just remember the difference between being enlightened and not being enlightened when it comes to results, since we don't know where these kings will end up after their time in the Brahma world. They could go to hell, they could become humans, they could be born in the Brahma world again. But as for the Pada Gatikara, he would go to the pure abodes for enlightened beings, which is, that's like 80 Mahakapas. That's, I mean, the lifespan in those abodes is so long that a human mind cannot even, I mean, it's incomprehensible how long time life is in the pure abodes. It's much more than 4 times 84,000 years. It's more like, what is it actually? It's a place between 100 and 500, or I was just looking over it yesterday. But imagine like 100 great big bangs, or not just the Big Bang, like 100 times the whole universe have formed. So that which causes a Big Bang, imagine that happening like 500 times. And that, I mean, one Big Bang, that is known as a kappa. But a maha kappa is that in which a multitude of Big Bangs occurs. And Big Bangs obviously is the creation of the universe, as we call it. But it is such a long time that it is unimaginable. Unimaginable. And life in the Brahma realms is maybe 84,000 human lifetimes. It's nothing compared to that. So, let's continue on. These kings did not become enlightened, even though they were great supporters and ruling with the law of kamma. 84,000 years to play childish games, going forward they passed on to Brahma world. Nimi was the last of those kings. He was a righteous king who ruled by the Dhamma, a great king who was established in the Dhamma. He conducted himself by the Dhamma among Brahmins and householders, among town dwellers, country folk, and observed the Uposatha days on the 14th, 15th, 8th of the fortnight. Once Ananda, when the gods of the 33 had met together and were seated in the Suttama assembly, this discussion arose among them. It is a gain, sirs, for the people of Videha. It is great gain for the people of Videha that their king Nimi is a righteous king who rules by the Dhamma, a great king who is established in the Dhamma, conducts himself by the Dhamma among Brahmins and householders, among town dwellers and country folk. He observes the Uposatha days on 14th, 15th, 8th of the fortnight. Then Sakka, ruler of the gods, addressed the gods of the 33. Good sirs, do you want to see King Nimi? Good sir, we want to see King Nimi. Now, on that occasion, it being Uposatha day on the 15th, on the 15th, King Nimi had washed his head and ascended to the upper palace chamber, where he was seated for the Uposatha observance. Then, just as quickly as a strong man might extend his flexed arm, or flex his extended arm, Sakka, ruler of the gods, vanished among the gods of the 33 and appeared in the presence of the King Nimi. He said, "It is a gain for you, great king. It is a great gain for you, great king." When the gods of the Dhamma assembly, this discussion, when the gods of the 33 had met together and were seated in the Suttama assembly, this discussion arose amongst them. It is a great gain, sirs, for the people of Videha that King Nimi observes the Uposatha all the way on the 14th, 15th, 8th fortnight. Great king, the gods want to see you. I shall send a chariot harnessed to 1,000 thoroughbreds for you, great king. Great king, mount the divine chariot without misgiving. King Nimi consented in silence. Then, just as quickly as a strong man might extend his flexed arm or flex his extended arm, Sakka, ruler of the gods, vanished in the presence of King Nimi and appeared among the gods of the 33. Then Sakka, ruler of the gods, addressed the charioteer Matali thus: "Come, good Matali, prepare the chariot harnessed to 1,000 thoroughbreds and go to King Nimi and say, Great king, the chariot harnessed to 1,000 thoroughbreds has been sent for you by Sakka, ruler of the gods. Great king, mount the divine chariot without misgiving." "Yes, your honor," the charioteer Matali replied, and having prepared the chariot harness to 1,000 thoroughbreds, went to King Nimi and said, "Great king, This shared harness to 1,000 thoroughbreds has been sent to you by King Sakka, ruler of the gods. Great king, mount the divine chariot without misgiving. But, great king, by which route shall I drive you? By that on which doers of evil experience the results of evil actions? Or by that on which doers of good experience the results of good actions? Drive me by both routes, Matali. Matali brought the King Nimi to the Suttama assembly. Sakka, ruler of the gods, saw King Nimi coming in the distance and said to him, "Come, great king." "Welcome, great king." The gods of the 33, great king, seated in the Suttama assembly, have expressed themselves thus. It is again, sirs, for the people of Videha that the great king Nimi observed them. Opposed on the 15th, 14th, and 8th of the fortnight. Great king, the gods of the 33 want to see you. Great king, enjoy divine might among the gods. Even though, good sir. Enough, good sir. Let the charioteer drive me back to Mithila. There I will conduct myself by the Dhamma among the Brahmins and householders, among town dwellers, among country folk. There I will observe the opposite days on the 14th, 15th, and 8th of the fortnight. Then Sakka, ruler of the gods, told the charioteer Matali, "Come, good Matali, prepare the chariot harness to 1,000 thoroughbreds and drive King Nimi back to Mithila." "Yes, your honor," the charioteer Matali replied, and having prepared the chariot harnessed to 1,000 thoroughbreds, he drove King Nimi back to Mithila. And there, indeed, King Nimi conducted himself by the Dhamma among Brahmins and householders, among town dwellers and country folk. And there he observed the Uposatha days on the 14th, 15th, and 8th of the fortnight. Then, at the end of many years, many hundreds years, thousands years, King Nimi addressed the Bible thus. The same thing with the grey hair. By developing the four boats, disillusioning the body, he passed on to the Brahma world. So King Nimi, at the time of his death, passed on to the Brahma world, just as his forefathers did. Now, King Nimi had a son named Kalara Janaka, and he did not go forth from the homeless life into homelessness. He broke that good practice, and he was the last man among them. Now, Ananda, it may be that you think thus. Certainly on that occasion someone else was King Makadeva, who instituted that good practice. But it should not be regarded as thus. I was King Makadeva on that occasion. I instituted that good practice, and later generation continued that good practice instituted by me. But that kind of good practice does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana, but only to reappearance in the Brahma world. But there is this kind of good practice that has been instituted by me now, which leads to complete disenchantment, dispassion, to cessation, and to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. And what is that good practice? It is this noble eightfold path, that is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This is the good practice instituted by me now, which leads to complete disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. Ananda, I say to you, continue this good practice instituted by me, and do not be the last man. Ananda, when there are two men living, He under whom occurs a breach of this good practice, he is the last man among them. Therefore, Ananda, I say to you, continue this good practice instituted by me, and do not be the last man. That is what the Blessed One said. The Venerable Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So it seems we will be using this book after all, but actually really we will just be using the appendix. So what I want to do now is, as I said, the first king in the last sutta we just read, King Makadeva, he went to the Brahma world at the time of his death, based on the practice of the Brahma Viharas. But seeing that this king came back to be the Bodhisattva, who was also a prince, in the human realm, there is the telltale sign that the Brahma world, or going to live with God, as it were, does not lead to the end of suffering. Since the Buddha, or king, in this case King Makadeva, he had to return again and again to birth. Even as a Bodhisattva, the king at a very early age lost his own mother. And the Bodhisattva ended up torturing himself because of the practices that was instituted by the ascetics. Again, a fruitless and useless endeavor, which did not lead the Bodhisattva to become an Arya, to become enlightened, just like the Pada was enlightened. He was an anagami, he was going to the pure abodes, which is exactly what I'm going to talk about right now. So this is an appendix from the Manual of Insight. So this is actually the whole thing which this book is about, in an appendix. Okay, so you can't see this. So here we have it. The 16 stages and all kinds of really detailed knowledge about what is wholesome actions, what is unwholesome action, and consciousness pretty much divided up and put into all these kinds of different categories. But what I want to show you here, the most important thing is obviously uprooting the defilements, which you can read about this here, but let me just try and not distract myself too much. What I want to tell you about is this. Appendix of planes of existence. Okay, I guess I have to turn this way. Could I not do this? Could I not do this? Okay. So let me see. If I look at the camera. Okay, here it is. Appendix of the planes of existence, right? You see that? You see all that. Let me read to you. The human realm is one human life. The realm of the four kings is 500 CY. 500 CY is 9 million human years. And that is the realm just above the human realm. Now, the realm of the 33 gods, Tawatimsa heaven, in which the next Buddha Mitteya is said to abide or dwell right now. Apparently you can go and visit him if you want to. But that realm, the realm of the 33 gods, we just heard about it. The Sakka, the king of the gods, Sakka, this realm, the lifespan there, obviously it can be double as much as this, but generally the lifespan of beings, not all beings just live the exact same time, so it's more of a general thing here. Generally the lifespan there is 1000 CY, so that it means 1000 times 9 million human years, so that would be 9 billion human years. Right? Wait a minute, is that trillion? 9? Yeah. No, wait a minute. 10 million, 100 million, 1,000 million is 1 billion. So 1,000 CY, that would be that would be 80 million human years. But forget about that. Now we go to the realm of Mahabrahma. No, let's take Brahma's retinue. That is a third of an AK, and an AK is an acinteyyo kappa, an all uncalculable cycle. So here we have another one that is called just below the realm of Brahma's retinue. Number 11, the realm of gods who enjoy others' creation, so the creations of others. Their lifespan, just below Brahma's retinue, their lifespan is 16,000 CY. That's 9,216,000,000 human years. Now, the first step here in the Brahma realm is Brahma's retinue, and the realm of Brahma's ministers. That's a half an acinteyyo kappa. That is a half an incalculable cycle. And Mahabrahma, his realm is one incalculable cycle. But if we try and go even further, now we go down here to the pure abodes, where the Pada Gatikara would be born, and upon the dissolution, or at the end of his lifespan there, he would go to become an arahant, a fully enlightened being. So at the moment of death, he would become an arahant and not arise, not be born again. Not be subject to birth. When you become an arahant, you break the line or the cycle of rebirth. So let's just have a look here at the pure abodes. That is for anagamis. It's actually here called the 5th jhana. It's not even the 4th jhana, the realm of infinite aura or something like that. This is the pure abodes. So there are 5 realms in the pure abodes. There's durable, the first, serene, beautiful realm, clear-sighted realm, and then the highest realm. So the shortest amount, or the shortest lifespan in the pure abode is 1000 mahakappas. And 1 mahakappa is 4 incalculable cycles. So imagine not even 4 big bangs, but 4 big crunches. The big crunch, as this is all very Western, but I believe that big crunches in those are big bangs. So imagining big crunches with, we don't know, I mean, incalculable amounts of big bangs. That's one big crunch. 4 of those big crunches is one mahakappa, one great universal cycle. Okay, so now you have kind of an idea about how long is one mahakappa. It is an incalculable amount of maybe big bangs or something like that. But now imagine 1,000 mahakappas, 1,000 big crunches, in which each big crunch there is a big bang, but one mahakappa is 4 asankhayas. Okay, so we say that they're in one. Okay, so that's actually a little bit better. But we don't really know how long is an asankhaya. I mean, the Big Bang is quite calculable, or even for humans, right? So we have to assume that an incalculable universal cycle is not just this short Big Bang or the creation of our universe, since it is pretty much calculable, right? Anyways, one mahakappa is 4. One of those is 4 incalculable cycles, and the lowest lifespan in the pure abodes is the durable realm, in which 1,000 mahakappas occurs, and in the highest lifespan, in the highest realm, it's called the highest realm, it is 16,000 mahakappas. 16,000 times 4. Okay, so we can have that. That's 32, that's 60. 4. What is that? 64,000 incalculable cycles. But even if you go beyond that, for someone like Gatikara who is enlightened and destined not to return, now it's getting a little bit where, I mean, my brain is packing up and taking on vacation. But what I'm trying to say is that is not even the end of how long time an enlightened being can exist. I mean, if you go even beyond that, let's say you are in the pure abodes, and from that you become an arahant in the pure abodes. That could extend this time depending on whether you take the realm of infinite space, infinite consciousness, the realm of nothingness, the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, which is called the formless realms. So if you're born in the realm of infinite space, let's say, that's 20,000 mahakappas, infinite consciousness, 40,000 mahakappas, infinite, the realm of nothingness, 60,000 mahakappas, and the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, 84,000 mahakappas. That is such a huge number. I mean, it's such a huge number that it is based upon 84,000 times 4 incalculable cycles. So what we have no idea how long that time is, because, I mean, it's 84,000 times 4 incalculable cycles. It's like 330,000 mahakappa, or I'm sorry, 330,000 infinite or incalculable cycles. This is something that is so mind-boggling. So now let's just go back to Brahma's retinue. How long is Brahma's retinue? So let's say you are Brahma himself. That is one incalculable cycle. So as soon as this universe goes to rubbish, God is dead. A new God appears and is kind of the first being, and then he says, oh, I'm the first one here. I must have created all of this. That is how the Mahabrahmas come about. They think they created it because no one was there when they appeared. So they were the first. That is one universal cycle compared to 80, or let's just say 20,000 Mahakappas. I don't really know what more to say, but it just speaks to the fact that the Buddha certainly did not praise himself on taking birth in the Brahma realms. As he told Ananda in this last sutta, he said to him, do not be the last man. Or do not end the sasana, the Buddha sasana, which the Buddha instituted. Do not be the last man. Forget about being the last man in Brahma's world. Forget about all that. That's like a blink of an eye. One big bang, it's nothing. And if it is, I mean, you don't know where you're gonna go after that. But if you go to the pure abodes and you stay there for 40,000 Mahakappas, and then you become enlightened, you give up this last conceit, this last little imperfection in the mind of someone who is so close to full enlightenment. If an anagami becomes an arahant, that would certainly make their lifespan much, much longer in the pure abodes. And do not be the last man. This is going to be the last words of this sutta study. But first, let's pay homage to the Lord Buddha. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Do not be the last man.